Patreon Q&A number 115. I want to thank all 115 of my amazing patrons. Guys, thank you so much for continuing to support me the way that you have been. And to everyone else listening, there's going to be spoilers for all the series I'm going to be talking about, so tread carefully. Mr.Awsome asks, what if the Dark Matter Thieves invaded Season 1, Episode 1 of My Hero? Supposing that the heroes and villains are working together, could they win? If not, would Boros be satisfied? So this is going to be a tall order for the characters from My Hero Academia. So chronologically, in episode 1 of season 1, they have some pretty powerful characters at their disposal, heroes and villains, and in this scenario, you said they're working together to take down the Dark Matter Thieves. So All Might and All For One are going to be the two strongest, I assume they have at this point in time. And then maybe Captain Celebrity's out there. As far as I know, we still don't know what he's like current timeline within My Hero. I think Vigilantes we only seen like 5 years ago or something, so I don't know if he's still that powerful, but if he is even still alive, then he can come help. They would definitely need him. He would be a seriously valuable asset to this battle. And then they have Endeavor and the rest of the Billboard heroes. So I'm thinking that this collection of heroes could maybe take down the generals, you know, Melzergard, Gorybas, and Grugenshu. You know, it wouldn't be easy, of course, but they could probably get the job done there. But then, of course, we have Boros coming out, and it's not looking good at that point. So Boros, I mean, he's just so powerful compared to, like, the My Hero power scale that he would only need, like, 1 or 2 shots to take care of most characters. But, like, All Might, All For One working together, maybe, big maybe, they can push Boros to having his armor come off, and then fighting the released version of Boros. It's hard to say if they could win at that point. I mean, it's a possibility they could, but even if they somehow are able to push Boros to meteoric burst form, then I think it's extremely unlikely that they're going to be able to win. So I guess that answers that. And as would Boros be satisfied? I don't know. I mean, does pushing him to meteoric burst make him satisfied? But I guess you're led to believe that Boros, even having his armor removed, is somewhat satisfying, considering that he needs to apply himself, which, I don't know, it kind of seems like he hasn't really been challenged at all in his, you know, domination of the universe. So anyone who could push him that far maybe could be satisfying. And for your second question, what anime manga that you have not watched / read do you know the most about? It's either between Hunter x Hunter and Baki. And that's mainly because you guys keep, you know, suggesting me to like look up some certain things on streams and whatever we're doing. So I don't know a lot about them, but I know enough to probably get by in a conversation, you know, despite not having read or watched them. And then your last question, what's the disaster level of Goku from Dragon Ball Evolution? So going off of like his fight with Piccolo at the end, he seems like a demon. You know, he can like fly, he has somewhat superhuman strength. That Kamehameha was, you know, kind of powerful, and his durability, you know, goes to those rocks and takes those punches. So I mean, so I guess maybe demon. Adam EA asks, could Best Jeanist bind the dragons of One Punch Man the way that he has bound Gigantomachia in the latest chapter of My Hero? That's a great question, and I think that he probably could, because I mean, like, how much stronger could the dragons of One Punch Man, like how you listed Bakuzan, Furo Ugly, or Goketsu, how much stronger could they be than Gigantomachia, if not even maybe weaker than him? I mean, we saw his strength. He just bulldozes through cities and whatnot. And while we really haven't seen Bakuzan or Furo Ugly do that, I mean, would they be as impressive as Gigantomachia's feats of destruction? I would say that Gigantomachia would probably have a more of an impressive display of power than them. Now, Goketsu, I left him off because he can destroy things similar to like Gigantomachia, but just with like the force of his punches. But like, is Goketsu as strong as Gigantomachia or even stronger than him? I don't know. I would say that the strength of a high dragon in One Punch Man, at least monsters, somewhat similar to Gigantomachia's strength, right? It seems like a lot of people who watch these videos don't like to give credit to My Hero Academia for some reason, but they seem comparable in strength. So if the carbon fiber cables that Jeanist is using to restrict Gigantomachia, which is seemingly effective because he is trying to break out of it in that chapter and he's unable to, I assume that he could do it to the dragons of One Punch Man. Definitely Bakuzan, most likely Fear Ugly, and I guess Goketsu too, to some extent. Beowolf asks, who is stronger right now, Metal Bat from the webcomic or from the manga? So I would say the manga for sure, simply because he has more feats than the webcomic version of Metal Bat, and we're getting around to him. He's about to have a fight in the webcomic, maybe, or they're just going to off-panel that, but we saw that he was able to, you know, defend himself against Mars, Leo, and Solitude and whatnot, and that's fine, but in the manga, him like stopping Elder Centipede mid-charge is his most impressive feat in my opinion, and that by far trumps anything he's done in the webcomic, at least as of this video. So yeah, the manga version is stronger than the webcomic version until we see more of him. And then for your second question, who would win in a eating contest between Goku and Pig God with a time limit of a half hour? So I would say definitely Pig God, and I would say like by a large margin. And while Goku is an impressive eater for, you know, battle manga MC standards, Pig God, you know, has feats of eating that Goku doesn't really come close to at all. Like eating those gigantic monsters that Pig God has, there's like no way Goku could do that. So if there was a comparable amount of food in front of both of them and Pig God knew that and he needed to eat more than Goku to win, he could easily do it. Brushyboi asks, Minato versus Flashy Flash, who do you think wins? All right, here's another question that's gonna get me in trouble, and that's fine. I'm always in trouble with this community. So I know Minato is held in very high regard along with pretty much all of the other powerful Naruto characters. But it really comes down to like how fast is he exactly, and I have no idea. Same thing with Flashy Flash. I don't know how fast he truly is either. So it's like, could Minato keep up with Flashy Flash, or could Flashy Flash keep up with the Flying Thunder God and the setup with all that stuff? I mean, Flashy Flash would have some kind of inclination as to what's going on with the kunais and stuff that he's doing, since he is a ninja, although, you know, not a Konoha ninja. I honestly don't know, but to just me personally, reading and watching these characters in action in their own respective series, it seems like Flashy Flash is probably the faster and more versatile one, and he would probably win. But hey, you know, Naruto characters always win, so I'm probably just wrong. And then for your second question, what if Saitama Sirius jumped off the moon and hit the Earth? Well, he'd be hitting it like a meteor, probably. I mean, him just, you know, jumping off the moon caused that huge crater. So if he really wanted to hit the Earth, you know, not hitting Boros' ship or whatever, which he was still probably holding back somewhat, it would definitely be like a meteor for sure. Maybe, depending on how much he really wanted to hit it, he could destroy the Earth. I mean, if he could destroy it with a punch, I'm sure he could do it with just launching himself at it. But if he was just nonchalantly doing it with no intent behind it, you know, meteor, maybe country level destruction at the minimum. Chasey asks, could Goketsu take down Boros' 3 generals? And if not, how close would he get? Well, I mean, if they're all fighting him at the same time, that would be a difficult fight for Goketsu. I mean, he's obviously super fast, maybe faster than all 3 of them. It's really hard to say. I mean, he seems faster than Melzergard, I'm gonna say that for sure. Don't know about Goribas and Garuganshoop, a lot of unknowns on him as well. Fighting them all together, really difficult for him to come out of this one on top, especially since Garuganshoop can like bind him while the other 2 go at him. But if he was fighting them like one-on-one gauntlet style, he would probably have a better chance at winning that way. Crazy Iguana asks, who do you think would win between Hammerhead with the organization suit going full power against Deku using 30% of One For All, as well as being able to use Black Whips and float? So this wouldn't be easy for Izuku, but I would say that he could probably still win. I'm just going off of like manga continuity for Hammerhead, and while he's still impressive in that, I mean, like, I think Deku would most likely be able to defeat him. I mean, it's hard to say if he could break the suit, but I mean, he can hit him in the face all day, air smash, Black Whip stuff, and he has the float too. I mean, I assume that he could probably win. He just seems to be overall more effective than Hammerhead, but I mean, I guess Hammerhead could win as well. Delamante asks, how do you think a fight between Zoro with the Nichirin blade and Muzan would go? So I haven't finished Demon Slayer yet, so I don't know the full extent of Muzan's power, but I mean, if he is somehow strong enough to defeat Zoro, I would be really surprised, because Zoro is like really strong right now in One Piece. So I assume if you gave him the tools, you know, like the Nichiren blade, I assume that he could take down Muzan. Although, like I said, I'm not completely unsure of the full extent of his power. I don't know if he has like genjutsu powers or something like that, because I'm still not sure what that Infinity Hotel with the Beowolf woman thing, whatever that place is called. I'm not sure what's going on with that, or, you know, like I said, with just Muzan entirely. But that stuff aside, just full on physical battle or whatever, I think Zoro would probably win. Derek asks, how would you like to see God introduced as the true final antagonist? So the way that I would like it is what I think is actually going to happen, more or less. Like, Psychos is eventually going to be interrogated by whoever, Fubuki, maybe Tatsumaki, I don't know. She's eventually going to start talking about God and whatever. And then Zombie Man might hear this, and that might remind him to talk to Dr. Genus about God if he hasn't already. And then I assume this information is going to be passed around the most intelligent characters, and then one way or another, they're going to figure out, you know, what God is, possibly, and then once they figure out more about him, then maybe he'll catch on to what they're doing, possibly, and then we'll get his backstory, and we'll figure out how to interact with him, and eventually how to defeat him. And I think that'll just ultimately more go into Shibawa's prophecy, and then they'll figure out exactly when the prophecy is going to happen, and then they'll be like, okay, so we'll get ready for whatever he's going to do. Then we can maybe have the big, you know, battle manga ending war, possibly, or something like that. Dino W asks, could you list the X-Men movies from your favorite to least favorite for me? So my favorite is Days of Future Past. Love that movie, it's so good. Number 2, Apocalypse. That might be a weird pick for some people, and I totally get it, but I personally really enjoyed that movie. It hit all the right notes for me, except, you know, Apocalypse himself, played by Oscar Isaac, kind of a weak character. Number 3, X-Men 2. I think that's called X-Men United or something. I think that's like the consensus favorite X-Men movie in the community, maybe. It's pretty solid. I enjoyed it, but those other 2 I just liked more. And then number 4, First Class. I think that was a really good, solid reintroduction to the series. The number 5, the first X-Men movie, and then the last one, X-Men 3, because that's just not good. And I haven't even seen Dark Phoenix. And then for your second question, which Demon Slayers do you think could defeat Akaza by themselves with a Demon Slayer mark? So I'm not far enough into Demon Slayer yet to be able to answer this question, since Akaza has still only fought once. I assume he's going to fight again once the big battle for Nezuko starts. But I would say that if Rengoku had the mark, he would probably be able to defeat Akaza. I mean, he came really close to defeating him the first time. I think Akaza and Rengoku could go back and forth defeating each other. It felt like it was kind of like one of those matchups. But other than that, I don't know the full extent of the other Hashira yet. Like, it seems like Himejima is probably going to be a super mega powerhouse, so probably he can. And then maybe Tomioka, possibly. But I'll come back after I finish it. I'll give you a better answer. Legendarius asks, what if Saitama didn't do his training perfectly and he didn't count right? Would that explain why he struggled for so long to do a normal workout routine for years? I don't think it had anything to do with him not doing it perfectly or not counting or anything correctly or anything. I think it was just, it took so long because it's just, that's the path that he chose to remove his limiter. Like, if you're comparing him to Garo and to why Garo took so much faster, because Garo's the genetic freak, he has that over Saitama, and Garo was put in like a perfect scenario for this type of growth to happen, as to where Saitama wasn't. He kind of just, you know, grinded it out, you know, doing the training and fighting like wolves and tigers, I guess, something like that, and then demons eventually. So it's just his specific method that he chose is why I think it probably took so long. Little Ferrari asked, in a previous Q&A, I asked you what your perfect UFC card would be for One Punch Man, but now I want to know what your perfect fight card for the actual UFC would be. All right, so caveat, this is going to be like if the stars were perfectly aligned and, you know, everything worked out the way that we all wanted it to. So the main event, Izzy versus John Jones. This will eventually happen for sure, at least I certainly hope so, but it'd just be nice to see it as the main event of like the biggest card. Then the co-main, Tony versus Habib. Habib is pretty much retired, and there's like a 90% chance he's not going to come back. But, you know, just that 10% chance he does come back, you know, we still need to see him go against Tony. And then Conor versus Masvidal. This is an awesome fight. It does not really that significant. It's just, you know, a cool fight, I guess. Stipe versus Ngannou. This is going to happen too, but throw it on this card because that's probably going to be another great fight. And then Usman versus Covington 2, that's going to happen again. So yeah, just all the best fights that could possibly be made realistically right now, just throw them on one card and it's probably going to look like this somewhat. Natedawg asks, what if All Might never chose a successor for One for All? How far into the story could he make it while defeating all the villains? Good question. He's already made it pretty far into the story, considering like how weakened he was and how much his power regressed from him using, you know, it to some extent. So I'm thinking that it would kind of end the same way it did. I mean, he can only go up until fighting All for One. And I guess that's it. Because like, you know, once he uses the United States of Smash and all of that stuff, I mean, it's eventually going to drain him to the point of where he can no longer use muscle form or the full power of One for All. Like, even if he didn't pass it off to Izuku or successor, he still was pretty much on the time limit as indicated in the movie when David Shield takes a look at like his power reading. It can only go so much. So the more serious fights he had, the more his power would regress to the point of where he'd no longer be able to use it. I guess that would eventually happen once he ran into All for One at Kamina, which, you know, is inevitably going to happen regardless if he chose a successor or not, I suppose. Samurai asks, since Darkshine is shown to be physically stronger than Saiyan Saga base Goku, how would Darkshine do against Raditz, Nappa, and Vegeta and the Ginyu Force? Super hard to say, and it's going to anger some people regardless of whatever I do say, but as you said, you know, their strength, he seems to surpass them there somewhat, at least Goku on paper, but you know, their speed, which, you know, is always hyperbolically stated to be whatever, and then they have flight and the energy projection and stuff like that. So it's like, can Darkshine take a blast from Nappa or Raditz? I don't know, maybe Raditz. We haven't seen Darkshine like take anything like that yet, so I have no idea, because these blasts are all planet busters or whatever, so it's like hard to say. But and then the same thing with their speed. It's like, yeah, Darkshine can keep up with how fast Garo is, but you know, all of these Dragon Ball characters are said to be light speed, so it's like, I don't know. But his strength seems to surpass them somewhat, so maybe if he can land a shot, then he would do well against them. I don't know, too many unknowns here for me to personally answer. And then your second question, what if Kaido wasn't stopped by Shanks and came to Marineford? That would be awesome if that happened. I think Kaido, instead of stopping the war the way that Shanks did, he would just continue it until he was the victor or the pirates won. I don't think he would side with Whitebeard or Blackbeard or anything like that, but maybe he would mutually work together to take down the Marines, because that's like the best time to do it. Everyone was all in one place. And we already saw Blackbeard, you know, he was like, hey, you know, I'm gonna wreck this place up, you know, what he was doing with the Guruguru no Mi. So knowing Kaido, I think he would just be like, let's just destroy all the Marines right now. And he would like go after like Aki Inu and Sengoku and whoever else was there, you know, with his boys and everything. It just seems like that would be the prime opportunity for Kaido to take down the Marines and, you know, one step closer to becoming the Pirate King. Simone Kamina asks, 10-second Genos versus Android 19. So 10-second Genos does show some pretty impressive feats, of course, but it took, you know, like a Super Saiyan Vegeta to be able to defeat Android 19. And if I say that 10-second Genos is as strong or even close to as strong as Super Saiyan Vegeta, that's going to make a lot of people upset. So I'm not going to say that. And I don't know, I guess Android 19 wins even without the energy absorption ability. And then for your second question, Multi-S is superior than Orochi against Garo. I don't think so. I think Multi-S, I mean, we haven't seen him in the manga yet, of course, but in the webcomic, he seems to be just like a more powerful version of a standard Black S. I don't think he's like, you know, on that super high dragon, above dragon level the way that Orochi is. So at most, maybe in the webcomic, Multi-S is like a mid-dragon, possibly. If the standard Black S is like a low dragon or a high demon or something like that. Wolfire54 asks, do you think Saitama is his most happiest than he's ever been in the webcomic now that he has joined the Heroes Victim Name Association? He sure seems to be smiling more than he used to. It's possible. I mean, he definitely does seem more at peace. I mean, even though he is angry over the name and the protesting, it seems like he does have some purpose here. He does have a place with these individuals who are, you know, experiencing something similar to him, and he does have that smug look on his face when he's high-fiving them. So maybe technically he is the happiest he's ever been right now. Although, I mean, if you asked him, he obviously wouldn't say that. But given more development on this little mini storyline going on, I think we'll get a better answer then. And then your second question, what do you think Suiko and Blue are going to do after witnessing Saitama's power? This is the million-dollar question, and this is really what's going to drive the story forward, in my opinion, is really depending on how Blue reacts to this, because obviously Blue is the poster boy for the Neo Heroes. He's the leader, even though he's not technically really truly in control of them. The organization is, but whatever Blue deems Saitama is, either he's just too powerful and he's a great ally, or he's too powerful and he's, you know, dangerous. I think that's going to ultimately determine where the story heads at this point. So I think it could be either one of the two. Either he's going to be like, oh, you know what, this guy's just so powerful that we don't really need to worry about monsters anymore, because this guy will just always take care of them. Something like that. Or he's like, hey, this guy is way too powerful, more powerful than monsters. You know, if he wanted to, he could destroy the Earth. So we need to keep this guy in check, possibly. And then Suiko, maybe it'll inspire her to become stronger or something like that. Or maybe she'll become a part of the Saitama group, maybe. But that's pretty much it for the video today, guys. Once again, I want to thank all 115 of my amazing patrons, guys. Thank you so much for continuing to support me. And if you would like to be in next week's Q&A, simply check out the $5 tier on the Patreon page. It will give you access to this video. If you haven't already, please subscribe as well. Have a great day. I'll see you in the next one.